Fundamental concepts. What are the maintenance processes in organisms called? Life processes. From where does the energy for life processes come? Food. Why is molecular movement essential for life? Because it repairs cellular structures. Until when do viruses lack molecular movement? Until they infect a cell. Organisms repair structures using energy from what? Food. Nutrition. What do autotrophs use for nutrition? CO2 and water. On what do heterotrophs depend for nutrition? Autotrophs. Write the balanced chemical equation for photosynthesis. 6CO2 plus 12H2O gives C6H12O6 plus 6O2 plus 6H2O. Where is chlorophyll located in plant cells? Chloroplasts. At what time do desert plants absorb CO2? Night. What controls the opening and closing of stomatal pores? Guard cells. List the raw materials required for photosynthesis. CO2, water, sunlight, and chlorophyll. In what form do plants absorb nitrogen from the soil? Nitrates, nitrites. Give one example of an organism exhibiting parasitic nutrition. Cuscuta, Amarbel. In which type of organisms is saprophytic nutrition seen? Fungi or mushrooms? Name the salivary enzyme that digests starch. Salivary amylase. What protects the stomach lining from the action of HCl? Mucus. What substance does bile emulsify? Fats. Name two enzymes present in pancreatic juice. Trypsin and lipase. What is the function of villi in the small intestine? To increase absorption surface area. Which part of the alimentary canal is longer in herbivores compared to carnivores? Small intestine. Respiration. Where does aerobic respiration occur in eukaryotic cells? Mitochondria. What products are formed during anaerobic respiration in yeast? Ethanol plus CO2. What substance accumulates in muscles causing cramps after vigorous activity? Lactic acid. What does ATP stand for? Adenosine triphosphate. Write the equation for the synthesis of ATP from ADP and inorganic phosphate. ADP plus Pi plus energy gives ATP. Name the respiratory pigment present in human blood. Hemoglobin. Through what organs do fish respire? Gills. What is the approximate surface area provided by alveoli for gas exchange in human lungs? ATM square. What structures in the respiratory tract are destroyed by smoking? Cilia. Transportation. How is oxygen primarily transported in human blood? By RBCs or hemoglobin. Which major blood vessel brings deoxygenated blood to the heart? Vena cava. Which type of blood vessels contain valves to prevent backflow of blood? Veins. What is the function of platelets in blood? To help in clotting blood. What substance does lymph transport from the intestine? Fats. What is considered the normal blood pressure in a healthy adult human? 120 by 80 mmHg. Name the instrument used to measure blood pressure. Sphygmomanometer. What does xylem transport in plants? Water and minerals. What does phloem transport in plants? Organic nutrients. What process drives water uptake in plants, creating a suction pull? Transpiration. Excretion. Name the primary human excretory organs. Kidneys. What is the functional unit of the kidney? Nephron. Where does blood filtration primarily occur in the nephron? Glomerulus. Where is urine temporarily stored before excretion? Urinary bladder. What is the process of using an artificial kidney to filter blood called? Dialysis. Which gaseous waste product do plants excrete during photosynthesis? Oxygen. How do plants store their waste products? In vacuoles, leaves, or gums? Activity-based questions. Activity 5.1. Chlorophyll necessity. Why are leaves boiled in water during the experiment to test for starch? To denature enzymes. What is the purpose of boiling a leaf in alcohol during the starch test? To remove chlorophyll. What color change does iodine solution show when starch is present? Blue-black. What observation is made when iodine is applied to the non-green parts of a variegated leaf? No starch. It shows no color change. Activity 5.2. CO2 necessity. What substance is used to absorb CO2 in the experimental setup to show CO2 is necessary for photosynthesis? KOH, that is potassium hydroxide. What will be the result of the starch test on a plant kept in a bell jar with KOH? No starch, that is, it will show no color change. In the experiment demonstrating CO2 necessity for photosynthesis, what serves as the control setup? The plant without KOH. Activity 5.3. Salivary action. What does saliva digest starch into? Maltose. Why does the iodine test turn negative, that is, no color change, in the tube where starch has been treated with saliva? Due to starch breakdown. Activity 5.4. Exhaled CO2. What happens to lime water when exhaled air is passed through it? It turns milky. What does faster milky appearance of lime water with exhaled air indicate? Higher CO2 concentration. Activity 5.5. Fermentation. What gas is produced by yeast during fermentation? CO2. Why does lime water turn milky when gas from the fermentation setup is passed through it? Due to CO2 production. Activity 5.6. Fish respiration. Describe the coordination between the fish's mouth and gill movements. They are synchronized. How does the breathing rate of a fish compare to that of humans? It is higher than humans. Activity 5.7. Hemoglobin. What is the normal range of hemoglobin Hb in adult males? 13 to 17 g per dl. Why do women generally have lower hemoglobin levels than men? Due to menstruation. Activity 5.8. Transpiration. In the experiment using a polythene bag over a potted plant, what observation indicates transpiration? The pot with the plant shows more condensation. What force is created by transpiration that helps in water uptake in plants? Suction pull. Advanced recall. Which enzyme digests proteins in the stomach? Pepsin. What activates pepsinogen into pepsin in the stomach? HCl. Where is bile stored after being produced by the liver? Gallbladder. What is the final product of protein digestion? Amino acids. How many carbon atoms are there in a molecule of pyruvate? 3 carbon. What is the approximate ATP yield from one glucose molecule during aerobic respiration? 36 ATP. By what structures are alveoli surrounded? Capillaries. In the lungs, where does oxygen diffuse from alveoli into blood? Blood. Which chamber of the heart pumps blood to the lungs? Right ventricle. Which chamber of the human heart has the thickest muscular wall? Left ventricle. Define systole and diastole in relation to the heart. Systole means contraction, diastole means relaxation. What blood pressure reading indicates hypertension? Greater than 140 by 90 mmHg. At what time of day is root pressure most critical for water transport in plants? Night. Does translocation in plants require energy? Yes, it requires ATP energy. What substance does Bowman's capsule collect from the glomerulus? Filtrate. Where is glucose primarily reabsorbed in the nephron? Proximal tubule. What important metabolic waste product is absent in the dialyzing fluid? Fundamental concepts. What